Salam Pinchak. Welcome back to our weekly analysis, everybody. I've been gone for about 2 months now. I haven't been able to do the analysis because I was moving my family back from Turkey to Canada. So now I'll be in Canada for the next couple of years as my children go to school here. So that being said, I'll be able to get back to the weekly analysis and they will remain weekly, hopefully, unless I have a heart attack or something else. But other than that, I should be here. Now, this week we have an intrusion. This was an intruder who broke into somebody's house and ended up getting shot. Now, in Canada, of course, this would never happen. This is the United States. In Canada, this would never happen because we're not allowed to have firearms in this country, and it's an easy thing to have firearms. Now, to make it even more ridiculous how Canada is, because in Canada, you're not allowed to defend yourself. You have to allow the criminals to do whatever they want with you, apparently. So in Canada, the police have suggested in Toronto that you don't leave the keys to your car inside the house. You leave them outside the house so the criminals have easier access, so that you don't need to have the criminals coming into your house. They don't need to break into your house. They don't need to be intruders. They can just take your car keys and walk away with your property. So that's the solution in Canada that the police recommended to us about 2 weeks ago. So very different from the United States. Needless to say, I don't really fall into those type of rules. I protect myself, I protect my family, and I make sure that I deal with intruders that come into my house. And this was like that all over the world where I lived, because that's what normal people do. They don't just hand criminals their property, and they don't just allow criminals to come into their homes. Now, let's take a look at our video and see what's going on over here. Let's just let this video run, and then we can discuss the details afterwards.
In Escambia County, Florida. This was just minutes before a woman inside shot and killed him. Cody Long tells us why the woman who pulled the trigger is not being charged.
The Escambia County Sheriff's Office is investigating this as a stand your ground case. The sheriff says the woman was protecting herself and her family. Take a look at this video from the front porch. You can see the man kicking the front door on James Taylor Lane and screaming at those who are inside.
You want to play? Let's play.
Then the 54-year-old man goes back to kicking in the door. After a few tries, he gets in. The sheriff said once inside, he armed himself with a knife and threatened to harm his children's mother. A woman in a bedroom said she was in fear for her life and shot the man in the head. He died on scene. The man had an active domestic violence injunction filed on him, and the sheriff says when this all happened, the man was on his way to an anger management class.
Anger management class. Yeah, obviously was doing him very well. Okay, so that's basically the case over there. So first of all, when it comes to these type of domestic disputes, it's really important always to be really careful when you deal with the people involved, because as any police officer or medic or anybody who goes in to these domestic situations understands, it's so unpredictable. People, you might be shot by the person that you're trying to help, because or attacked by the person that you're trying to help, simply because you don't know the details of what happened between these two people. It's very unpredictable. No matter how much you think somebody is in the right, they could actually be in the wrong. You just don't know the back story of all of this situation. And what goes on in people's homes and what goes on in people's bedrooms is so opaque that nobody else outside of the two individuals that are living it would actually know what is really going on. So that's why it's so important to be, number one, extremely careful on passing judgment in domestic situations. If you ever get involved in them, just understand that. Do not pass judgment and do not trust. Don't trust the person who's the quote-unquote attacker, and do not trust the person who's the quote-unquote victim, okay? Because the roles could easily be changed and you really have no clue. Or it could be fluid between the two of them, and you have no idea. It's a very, very complicated situation, and you can never really be sure of anything. So that's the first thing here when it comes to these type of situations. Number two thing, buy a really good door. spend money for quality locks, for a door, for all of these things to protect yourself properly. Because your number one defense for yourself is your perimeter that you have around you. What you want all the time is layered defenses. So you want to make sure that you have a good fence, you want to have a dog, you want to have a door, something like that. That there's a little bit more layers, you know. There's try to create layers between you and other people, especially if you have a person who has knowledge of you and has a personal issue with you. They're going to try to get close to you. They're going to, you know, they have make them pass a couple of these layers before they're able to directly access you. So in this kind of situation, maybe it could have been good for that lady to have a dog. She might not have had to shoot the guy. Okay, so most people don't want to be in a situation where they have to shoot another human being, and that's very obvious, and probably a better choice, because you don't know how the law goes against you anyways. So it's better to always to make sure that you have some type of solution where you can limit the exposure to yourself to this type of individual, and so that you don't need to use force against them. So having a barrier there of some kind that can hold, and then having a secondary barrier, for example, a dog that could help you, a dog that would protect your home, that is trained to protect your home and protect your family, could also be another thing which is very, very useful. So creating as many barriers as possible. Also, if you have some type of fence or something like that around your home, that could be good. Also, a fence that is not easy to scale would be something good also. But that is more Asian style. In North America, people usually have low fences or no fences. In Asia and the Middle East and Africa, it's very normal for people to have higher fences. So I don't know if people here have gotten into that habit, but in Asia and Africa, it's quite common. Okay, so those are the two first important points. The third thing is that when you're dealing with a person like this that comes and attacks your home and wants to intrude into your home, should you have some type of weapons or something like that to defend yourself? In my opinion, yes. And the reason for that is because you cannot ever rely on law enforcement or anybody else outside to assist you. You have to be able to assist yourself. In a large city like Montreal, it took 7 to 9 minutes on average for an ambulance to get to your home. And then you had police and fire, which would probably be able to get to your home within 3 to 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. They should be able to be there. That's nice timing. That's when things are all okay. Okay, and everything is just rosy outside. Then you should be able to have a response time between 3 and 5 minutes for fire and police, and about 7 to 9 minutes or something, or 10 minutes maybe for an ambulance. So for anybody who's been in a violent situation, you probably know already that 3 minutes is a long time. 5 minutes is a long time. 7 minutes is a very long time when somebody is in a problem. So you see this video, all this was happening within 1 minute. That guy broke the door, entered the home, and if that woman didn't have a firearm to protect herself, she probably would have been dead, because he looked like he came in there to finish her off. He was armed with a knife and everything. So my suggestion would be to make sure that you protect yourself, you know how to protect yourself, and that you have a weapon in the home in order to protect yourself. Now, if you have children in the home, of course, you have to secure that weapon, okay? You're not going to just keep it on the counter. You want to secure that weapon. Make sure that in your bedroom, you have a safe, and that safe has your weapon inside. If somebody would break into my home, I don't have a firearm here, because in Canada it's very difficult to get firearms licenses. So I usually carry a blade at home, and I'm not going to allow somebody to just come in and maul me and maul my family. It's just not going to happen. So I stand my ground. I protect myself and my family at all times, and that's what I believe is the right thing to do. So that's also because I have had enough experience with law enforcement and medics and all this to understand that they can't help me in time. And if you believe that they can help you in time, then you haven't dealt with them enough. Okay, just deal with them more, speak to them, go and ask them and see, well, what type of response times on average. Do a Google search and see what are the response times on average for your law enforcement in your area or for police in your area. If you're in a more rural area, you're gonna go out even further. Okay, I'm talking about 5 minutes in the city. If you're in a rural area where there's one sheriff or something like that, or one RCMP officer or whoever who's in charge of that area, you know, you've got one guy who's going to show up there 15 minutes later. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. So you gotta keep that in mind. So remember those things. So make sure that you have a plan in place for these type of situations, especially if you have prior knowledge that somebody is aggressive, like this woman knew. That's probably why she had a firearm at home, because she knew that her ex-husband or ex-boyfriend or whoever this guy is seriously a lunatic. Okay, and he's violent, he's dangerous. She knew that already. She had prior knowledge of it. That's probably why she bought the gun and kept it at home for situations like this. So plan in advance. Understand that the Toronto police are not going to show up to your house on time if there's an invasion. And if you want to keep your keys outside the house to make sure that the criminals have access to your vehicle quickly enough and efficiently enough, that's your personal choice. But it's not my choice. This is not my choice. I'll keep my keys in my house so that I have my car and I have everything else that I want. I'm not giving any criminals my property. So that's what I got for you for this week. If anybody's got any questions or comments, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. You can contact me on Telegram, or you can contact me on email or anywhere else. So leave a message here.